crafting the alliance is something that we do in every single group. And it's very, very important that we do this in order to allow the protective parts of ourselves that have come to form through an adaptive process of surviving to get to where we are today as human beings and men, that they can start to trust us to get comfortable, to get uncomfortable. They can start to trust us to relax and to step aside so that we can do deeper work. And so crafting the alliance, this is a set of agreements that all of the men in the space, we need to be able to agree to these in order to allow ourselves to show up and to create a brave space. And so the three things are confidentiality versus secrecy, the intention, which comes in three parts: my intention, your intention, and the intention of the specific container that we're in that day. And then the third one is, sometimes it's called the paradox of safe space, or cultivating a brave space or a brave relationship. And so my reason for reviewing these with you here today on the show and on the podcast is because you might be listening to this in your car. You might be listening to this while you're getting some work done. You might be listening to this right before coming to your first group. And so it's just really important to me that everything we talk about today be held within the context of crafting this alliance, right? Because you can, when you listen to what Mike and Lundell and I have to share here, this is how, if we were in a space together in a men's group, we would be doing this together. And it works psychosomatically the same way for you to listen to these right now and to agree to them. Or if you don't agree to them, to need to talk about it more, to feel comfortable, to get uncomfortable, to do this work. Okay. So I'll invite you, if there's anything you need to talk about with us, that's why the stewards are here in our community, and to reach out to your community steward to have a conversation, to be able to step into these containers. So number one, confidentiality versus secrecy. It's just very important to me that anything and everything you share in these spaces is confidential. It is confidential, but it is not a secret. And so one of the reasons why we differentiate between confidentiality and secrecy is because sometimes when we form a confidential relationship, is what we do is we end up using that space or that relationship to escape our life. Okay. We create an island outside of our life that we can escape to. And then all of these tools we start using them to create a space that we can wall off and not feel uncomfortable. Okay. But our intention here is actually to bring this work, what we learn in this work, outside of this space into our life as it is. And so in order to be able to do that in a group with a group of other human beings who identify as male and a group of men, right, is that we all need to know the difference between confidentiality and secrecy. And so what we do in these spaces is confidential, and what we share and say is confidential, but it's not a secret. You have permission, and we actually want you to take this work outside of here and to share this experience with what you learn from this experience with your partner, with your journal, with your art project, with your coworkers, with your therapist, okay, or on your podcast. But you don't have permission to talk about what another man says specifically in the group, or to share personally identifiable information about another man. Okay. So does everyone here in the space understand that? Thank you, Londell. Thank you, Mike. Okay. And so that's how we start to get these agreements. Okay. I noticed on and in my body when I saw them affirm that I felt a sensation of openness just immediately. And I already know these gentlemen. So the second one is the intention. Okay. And this is very important. This is the Unshakable Man Community intention. So notice how I speak for myself here. Okay. Notice how I speak for myself. I don't speak for Lundell or Mike or you. Okay. So my intention is to create spaces where I can personally practice tools and skills to get out of my head and egoic patterns and to get into my body. So my intention is to create spaces where I can personally practice tools and skills to get out of my head and egoic patterns and to get into my body. Now, Londell and Mike, do you guys share that intention? Okay, so they both raise their hands. So now, if you listening to this, if you share that intention and I share that intention, then what happens is we have now started to form a very special container. Okay. And the reason why this container is so special is because the environment in our relationships outside of this space, by default, the default environment that we exist in outside of this space, we don't have that intention. And the other human beings in our life don't always carry that intention. Okay, to slow down and practice tools and skills to get out of our head and egoic patterns and get into our bodies. And this is one of the fundamental reasons why this work is so special, is so sacred. And I'm going to use that word for the first time here. Sacred. It's because of that shared intention, right? To slow down and get into our bodies. Okay. To practice those tools and skills. And so this brings me to the third piece and the last one. And this has lots of different names out there, lots of different references to this. But my favorite two ways to call this are in our community that they tend to it gets called is the paradox of safe space or cultivating a brave space. Okay. And so what happens is if Londell and Mike and I, or you listening, if we have an intention to create a safe space or for the space to be safe, which we might, or we likely have if we said yes to that question, is there's a paradox to this. And that paradox is that whether I'm conscious of it or not, I will very likely make the space unsafe from moment to moment, just purely because of some unconscious desire to have the space be safe. And this is why, and this is what's tricky about this, is that if I want to have the space be safe for Londell, I may manipulate or shift how I show up in order to try to make Londell feel more comfortable. Or Mike may shift or change how he's showing up in order to get me to like him. Right. And this is something that simply happens through the development of relational intimacy, through survival, right? Through wanting to belong. It's something that happens. But in order for us to be able to do this work, to be able to work with any and all emotions in the space, what we have to do is just become conscious, bring this paradox to the surface, bring it out from the unknown area and bring it up into the light and just acknowledge that this happens in relationship, right? So that we can become aware of it. And then instead of trying to manipulate or change or do something nifty to get around it, what we do is we make a different intention. And so we don't have an intention. We don't want this space to necessarily be safe. That's not my intention. My intention is to create a brave space. And that's a space where everyone in the space knows how to reinstate safety when it's lost. Okay. So we all know how to take responsibility to let the group know what we're feeling when it shifts or changes, so that if there is a rupture or if I notice myself disconnect, I'm not making it Mike's responsibility to interpret how I'm feeling. I can take responsibility to let the others know in the group how I'm feeling. Okay. And in our community, in our agreements, we simply ask that in order to do this work, if there's ever a rupture in the group, to be a part of the community, you agree to just return to the container if a rupture should occur in order to tend and mend, in order to move through it. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to end up liking that person or feeling connected to that person, but these are the agreements. This is crafting the alliance that allows us to step into this space, to start to work on and in our bodies, and to start to learn these somatic self-leadership tools. So Londell and Mike, that was a long description, but can you both take responsibility to the best of your ability to let us know how you feel if you notice it should shift or change? Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Wow. I haven't done that outside of a a live group experience in a while. Did you guys have anything you wanted to add? Thank you so much for your patience and your body language and listening. It was really helpful for me as I shared just that opening, crafting the alliance.
For me, I would like to share the very last, creating a brave space over a safe space. That's, for me personally, that's what allows me to really open up and really share deep, meaningful, vulnerable things, because I know that it's okay to share those things in this space. Whereas other groups I've been in where it has been a safe space, I was always cognizant of the people around me and ensuring that I was, for lack of a better term, PC. This is one of those things that makes this such a powerful experience.